I'm Samantha Mckelvie for It's Relevant News, and I'm here with newly elected State Representative Caroline Simmons. So thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me, Samantha.
So I want to talk about how the session is going, but first I want to get into how you got here. I was reading up a little bit about what made you decide to run, and I saw some interesting things that you went to Egypt and you had an interesting experience there that kind of made you think about being in politics. So can you tell me about that?
My experiences overseas in the Middle East really gave me a true appreciation of the rights that we have as women in this country. Mm-hmm. And I believe strongly that we need more women running for office and getting involved. Women still make up only 25% of legislative seats nationwide, despite women making up about 50% of the U.S. population. So I still think there's a long way to go in terms of achieving full gender equality.
Did you have any specific experiences? Like I read somewhere that you were interrogated for asking a question or something. Yeah.
I was. So I had an experience in Egypt when I was studying, during my undergrad studies, I was conducting thesis research in Egypt, and it was focused on different political movements in the country. And this was in 2006 when Hosni Mubarak was still the president. And I was asking questions in public about people's opinions about him. And unfortunately, that caught the attention of some security guards, and I was taken into a back office. We were in a shopping mall in downtown Cairo, and I was taken into a back office and interrogated for several hours. And they ripped my research notebook to shreds and said a lot of swear words in Arabic, which I couldn't understand. Mm-hmm. But it was a frightening experience just because I didn't know what was going to happen. But at the end of the day, it was an incredible learning experience, and it made me so grateful for the rights and freedoms that we have in this country that I think we take for granted. And so that was another reason too. I just felt like it was so important to stand up for things that I believe in this country and try to make a difference here if I have that opportunity. You
talked with me a little bit about working for the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. I don't know if you want to elaborate on that. Was that what you were doing right before you decided to run for office?
Yes, okay. So I worked at the Department of Homeland Security for about 4.5 years, and I mostly worked on counterterrorism and domestic public safety initiatives, but also spent some time on the Middle East, Africa, and South Asia desk, where I worked on Middle East policy issues and in support of our Homeland Security mission overseas. And the whole idea was to try to stop threats overseas before they get to our borders. And so it was an incredibly rewarding experience to get to work alongside all the brave men and women that are on the front lines trying to protect our country. And it really taught me invaluable lessons about the importance of preparedness and making sure that our federal, state, and local law enforcement officials are sharing information and intelligence on potential threats to this country and ensuring that we're prepared for all different types of attacks.
The session started in January. You're new, you're young. What's it like for you, your first time being in this position?
It's been really an exciting and exhilarating experience so far, and it's a tremendous honor to get to go up to Hartford every day and work in the state capitol on issues that are going to hopefully improve the lives of people in Stamford and across Connecticut.
What are some things that you really need to get used to?
Well, the biggest surprise to me actually was how well Republicans and Democrats seem to work together, at least so far throughout the committee process. There seems to be much more collaboration than there was during my time in Washington, D.C. with all the gridlock that we experienced in Congress.
What are your thoughts on the budget?
I think one of the biggest challenges this year is that there's so many important causes and important nonprofits and constituents that we want to serve and help, but at the same time it's such a tough budget year where we're facing a deficit and obviously the spending cap, and so there's going to have to be tough decisions made, and we can't help everyone at once this year. Mm-hmm. So I think it's going to be challenging, but we'll look forward to continuing the process.
What are some things that you're specifically working on? I know you were saying public safety, education, and small businesses were really important to you. So have you been working on things relating to that?
Yes, absolutely. And in fact, those three issues, education, business support, and job creation, and public safety are three of my top priorities this session. And in terms of education, I'm working alongside with the other members of the Stamford delegation to fight for more ECS funding for Stamford Public Schools, as well as more funding for an expanded magnet school in Stamford. We face a number of challenges. Over 50% of our students qualify for free and reduced lunch, and we also have a growing ELL and special education population, and overcrowding and capacity issues at our schools. So education is number one priority. And then in terms of business support and job creation, I introduced a bill with another Democratic legislator who's also a freshman that would create a tax credit for any business that hires a recent graduate of a Connecticut college or university. And the goal of that bill is to try to address the high unemployment number that we're seeing among recent graduates in Connecticut. The unemployment among recent graduates is 13.8% compared to the 6.3% overall unemployment rate in Connecticut. So we're trying to help provide more quality jobs and keep young, talented people in Connecticut. And then in terms of public safety, I introduced a bill with Representatives Tong and Florin on cybersecurity. And this was in response to the Anthem and Target and Home Depot breaches and the over 400 other cyber attacks that we faced last year in Connecticut. And the bill is designed to look at how we can better protect state infrastructure, state data, businesses, and the public from cyber attacks and improve our cyber defenses.
How can people contact you?
My state email is caroline.simmons@cga.ct.gov. I love hearing from constituents, and it's my job to represent them and their interests, so I love hearing from them and welcome people calling or emailing anytime if they have an issue that they're concerned about.